Hello, my friends. Are you tired of living on autopilot? Are you tired of feeling like you are always going uphill, pushing, striving, chasing? I've been there. I think we all have. And I know from personal experience, there is another way. And my dear friend, Michelle Lemoi, is here to talk about that on an even deeper level. Michelle Lemoi is a transformational and evolutionary guide, passionately dedicated to helping women discover that within them is the ability to create success, balance, and more joy by living and leading from this place of authenticity, truth, and inner peace. Her deepest desire is to support women to reconnect with their feminine essence, stop living on autopilot, and release the masculine energies of pushing, doing, and striving that the world is kind of programmed us to exist by. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I'm so happy to chat with you about this.
Well, it's such an important topic because until we disrupt our pattern of autopilot, we can't access the truth of who we are. We can't access our inner wisdom. And you and I both know from personal experience. So let's talk about this, why living on autopilot can really keep us from our truths and from our dreams.
Yeah, thanks. What I love about this is that we don't necessarily recognize that it's autopilot, right? We don't recognize necessarily because, like you alluded to, society sort of dictates that, we're successful, we're deemed successful when we're achieving, when we're doing, when we're arriving at a destination. And so, for me personally, that's what would happen. I would say, I'm going to hit this goal and I'm driving through it. That could be climbing the corporate ladder. That could be being a stay-at-home mom and, saying yes to all the things in the community or the schools and doing it because we have these external forces saying that we should be doing that. And we don't know any different. And so I'll say to people, we have to think about, what does that look like for us? What does autopilot mean for us? And really taking a minute to think about, am I always spending all my energy on achieving? Am I always looking for external validation? Or, am I having any joy in my life? And if the answers are, yes, that I'm doing that, and no, I don't have any joy, then we need to kind of take a pause and really dig a little deeper and find out, okay, so then how do I feel about that? What am I feeling when I'm in those energies of pushing, doing, striving? Am I getting burnt out? Am I unhappy? Am I feeling like time is a scarce commodity and there's never enough of it? And so, we have to kind of stop. And until we do that, and for me, it was a couple of years ago, I was getting sick a lot. And I thought, gosh, there's got to be a better way, right? This can't be my life for the next, 40 more years. I don't want this. And so somebody asked me, well, what do you want? And I couldn't answer it. I said, I don't know, because I was so focused on the role that I was doing in my job, right? I was an operations manager. I had 40 people working under me. I had to go, 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 go. And then when I came home, I was a single mom. And so then I got to be a great mom. I got to do all the things and all the things. And so there was very little left for me to figure out what my desires and dreams were. And so I had to disrupt that autopilot, those masculine energies, and get back to, who is Michelle and what does Michelle want? And then that meant slowing down. And when we're in those masculine energies of doing, pushing, striving, there's a lot of frenetic energy around that. And so that had to slow things down.
And I just love the description, because if we're not present, for myself, I'll only speak for myself, when I get in the energy of pushing, striving, doing, I'm up here. I'm not here, and I'm sure not present in that moment. And that's how I reconnected with myself. But I love how you just described everything, because we as women aren't present in our own lives because we're taking on roles that we believe we should. And I know you talk a lot about shoulds and have tos. And I love that you're sharing your personal journey too, because it gives us insights that, listen, ladies, there's nothing wrong with you. Okay, so if any of this, what we're about to talk about, and even what Michelle just shared, you're going, oh, that's me. Yay, yay. You're becoming aware that you want something different, right? Because sometimes we judge ourselves when those awarenesses come up, like, oh my God, I'm doing everything wrong. No, you're just doing what you knew up to this point.
Yeah.
So,
and I love that. I'm sorry, I was going to say, I love that because we are enough, right? Maya Angelou says, you alone are enough outside of all those roles, outside of all that energy, just us being who we are is enough.
it's so true, because I had to shed labels. I'm a little older than Michelle, so I'm going to be 61, but I remember going through, and I believe we all do. I thought I was the roles that the labels that the world gave me to exist in the world. Best-selling publisher, sacred visibility catalyst, mother, grandmother. Yes, those are roles that I have in my life, but they're not the only thing. They're not the essence of who I am. And that's what we're talking about here. It's getting back down to the essence of who Michelle is, so that you could hear your own truth instead of those patterns, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that, that really changes the way I show up in the world, right? It changed how I show up as a mom. It changed how I showed up in my role in my work. It changed how I showed up as an entrepreneur, because now I'm leading more from my intuition. I'm listening to the signals my body is giving me, which I couldn't do that before, right? So before I would make a decision based on what I should, what somebody needed. It was very other focused, because that's how I was brought up. But that wasn't necessarily fulfilling, or that wasn't necessarily in alignment with who I was and how I wanted to be. And so I think that's a great point you're bringing up.
And I think too is, we all know about energetics, and when our body starts paying the price, it's already given you spiritual signs that you ignored. I don't mean you in person, Michelle.
No,
Then
right.
our emotional centers, the spiritual layers, give us signs before it ever gets to the physical. And I think we can all relate to that. I know I can.
Yeah.
And so the beautiful gift you gave yourself, because we've been friends for a long, long time. I remember you kept getting sick.
Yeah.
And you said, Lynn, there's got to be a message for me. And you listened. So we're so grateful that you listened. And then it's the excavating, right? What are these patterns? What are these stories that I think I have to be all this? And I've seen you live this message and be more present in your own life. And you just, I can feel your energetic presence and everything that you do. And isn't that what we all want, ladies? I know I do. I want to be present in my own life. I don't want to get to the end and go, holy, I live according to somebody else's shoulds and have tos and not my own. And that's why Michelle is so passionate about what she does as a transformational leader and evolutionary guide, because she's been there. So we're going to talk about the next step is I love this one. How focusing on the now can provide inspiration, content, and more that living on autopilot never will.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because people say, when I tell people that, they say, yeah, but then how do you get all the things done? How do I get all the things done? And so that it can be challenging, right? Living in the present can be challenging. How many times do I wake up in the morning, or I hear women I work with wake up in the morning, they're like, oh, my to-do list is 20 miles long, right? I haven't even got my feet on the ground out of bed, and I'm making my coffee, and I'm like, oh, I got my list. I'm writing. And so it becomes sort of comforting because there's this list that we can rely on, but it's not really, because it's like this double-edged sword of, yeah, but then my life is not my own. My life is my to-do list. My life is all the things. And so for me, how I knew that that was not working for me was I had a lot of anxiety and panic around that because it became overwhelming. My to-do list was never getting crossed off, or I'd cross something off and there would be something new to be putting on it. But then for me to be able to be in the now was strange, because if I wasn't, shooting for some destination in the future, then what was I doing? Like, how could I go from doing to just being? And that was very uncomfortable. My body reacted that was not a safe space for me, to be present, to meditate, to get into that feminine flow of maybe being more in nature and not having sort of monkey mind of all the things. And so I realize and recognize, as I do with everything, let's try this out. I've got nothing to lose. So what if I don't have my to-do list? What if I don't set dates to do things and I just try to tackle it one at a time? I try to just be more being and savor the moments and notice what's going around me. And that brought up a lot of new self-awareness that peeled back some of the layers of the uncomfortableness and the discomfort. And then I had to help myself with resources to calm my body, that this was a new way that I was trying to introduce, and all was well. So it can be challenging to shift those gears.
It can. And one of the greatest gifts I gave myself, because I'm a list gal, but it's that first, I'd say at least 30 minutes in the morning, but I like an hour. Nothing from the outside comes in, because if we can't be present in our own body and energy field and ground into it in our intentions and our vision for our life, we can get lost, as you just so beautifully said. So for me, and then I have a commitment. I won't look at the to-do list or start work or go out in outside energies, we'll say that, and for at least 1 hour. And that, me, I'm an early riser. So, but that's what you're talking about. Be fully present, because if I spend that hour focusing on my vision for my life, my vision for my day, how I'm feeling in my body, and I can ground into that, that is power going into my day. And we all know that feeling, like you just described, grabbing that to-do list as you're making your coffee, washing the counter at the same time. I'm like, and I do that. Okay. Some days I reheat my coffee. You know how many times? And Dana's like, babe, why don't you just enjoy the coffee? He's like my spiritual mentor. And I'm like, I struggle with the same topic sometimes, ladies. That's why I have Michelle here, because it's a pattern that has to be broken if we want to enjoy our lives. And so thank you for those insights, because now I have to say, enjoy your coffee, Lyndon, so you don't have to reheat it 5 times.
Yeah. And I had a mental health counselor share with me a couple of years ago, my anxiety that I work with is that if I am feeling that, I talk about, again, how is our body feeling in the moment? It's a signal. When that's happening, I have to pause and say, okay, what's happening here? I'm either projecting too far in the future and trying to control my destination, or maybe I'm stuck in the past and ruminating about things that have happened. And so all we really have is the present. And that's not to say that we can't set some goals, and that's not to say that we can't have our to-do lists. We can't put all our energies into those. And so it's a practice. Like you said, I have to cultivate that. I have to wake up every morning and say, okay, what are the things I need to do today? What is it that I want to achieve today? How am I bringing peace into my life? How am I going to start my morning serene? Am I going to journal? Am I going to envision? And then the fun part of those, again, desires and dreams is, what is my life? What do I want my life to look like in 3 years? What does I want my life to look like in 5 years? But I'm staying very present in the now, and enjoying the fact that I can I have the space, the mental space to think about those things. And
exactly. That's what I mean. It's like when you stop living on autopilot, you create more spaciousness in your own energy, in your own mind, that you can begin envisioning your future. Doesn't mean doing your future. It's holding space for yourself in your visions and dreams, where before you are just, it's like a bulldozer, right? One thing, like I only have one thing in mind. And it's a softer way of living. And Michelle and I can both relate, ladies, for those who are type A. I'm a recovering type A. I've been on the spiritual journey 30 years. So, and I still fall back sometimes because I'm a passionate person. I'm a creatrix. And I remind myself, I want to be present in my life. I want to be here, but I do have, like you, Michelle, we go back and forth, right? It's like a wave. And then when you have the resources and the strategies that Michelle's sharing here today, and when you get her gift, you'll learn even more. You will have tools and practices that when you see you're out of a back on autopilot, it's like you can call yourself back. It's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing I'd like people to take away from this as well is when we are so focused on the future, or we are so focused on the to-dos, we also miss the opportunities that come up that the universe is putting out there for us that we can say yes to. Right. And so we almost, I'm a visual girl. I picture it as I've got my blind, right? Autopilot is I have my blinders on. And that means I'm not seeing all these opportunities that could be even better than what I think I can control as my destination in the future. And so I want to make sure that, think about those times that maybe then you arrived at that future destination. You're like, I'm here and I'm not really happy about it. And so let me get on to the next thing. And you might have missed all those moments of perfection and those moments of joy along the journey, and the opportunity to maybe to connect with someone or do something differently because we kind of have our blinders on.
It's so true. And one of the other things too is I say the divine, whatever your source is, has something bigger and better than we could ever plan with our small mind. Yeah. But we won't see the signs and synchronicities and opportunities with those blinders on. So yeah, I'm visual like you, so I can see that, like head down, blinders on, and driving forward. And there is such peace.
Yes.
In stepping out of autopilot. Haven't you found that too? I mean, that's my truth. It's just, I have found more peace in my life by embracing the feminine.
Yeah.
And again, ladies, feminine, just another word is trusting, allowing, accepting, releasing, instead of fighting and pushing and striving. So just think of it as those words, because you can feel those words. And that's why she uses that language. And Michelle, I know she uses that language too in everything you do, because it's about connecting with what that feels like in your body. Your body knows if you're on autopilot, even if your ego tries to tell you that you're not.
Right. Right. Because our ego is protecting us, right? Because if we are so used to, like I was so used to running on autopilot, that the minute I wanted to change it, my ego and my brain to protect me is saying, no. What are you trying to do here? This is no. This isn't our comfort, our comfort zone. So that's okay. So I had to accept that, and I had to recognize and be aware that, okay, brain, I appreciate you protecting me, but my heart, this is better for me. This is better for us. And now I have to ground myself in these new practices. And, this is our life work here on earth. We're exploring, we're uncovering layers, we're figuring out our purpose, and we're truly embodying who we're meant to be.
Yes. And that's what I want for all women, right? This is why I do what I do between the mag, the summits, the books, is just want to remind women of the truth of who they are. And going back to what you said at the beginning, you're worthy just as you are, my friends. You are worthy just as you are. So you have another topic and strategy we're talking about. It's about stillness and how it's a doorway to deep nurturing, balance, and one of my favorite topics, living a life of joy. So talk about your experience with stillness, but also how we can incorporate into our life. And for many of the women here, they might be going, oh my God, my life is too busy. That means you need it even more. So go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. So what I love about stillness is what I didn't like about it a couple of years ago. I can remember going to my first women's circle, and we were doing a meditation at the start of it. And I had my eyes closed and I had one eye open, looking around to see if was everybody else sitting still or with their eyes closed? Because I was fidgeting and I was having a hard time sitting still. And I felt uncomfortable because then I thought, does everybody know that I'm fidgeting? Should I get up and get out of the room because I'm disrupting everybody else? And it's funny, when I talk to women all the time, they say, oh yeah, I can't meditate, or no, I can't sit still for that long, or no, I can't because I have all these things I have to do. And so it requires just, again, sort of, shifting of reframing what that looks like. And so I had to accept that this was going to not happen overnight. This was going to be something that I was going to invite in, that I wanted it. I wanted to be able to sit and just be. I joke around that I watch a lot of historical period dramas, and you see these women looking out the window in nature, or they're strolling the gardens, and I'm like, oh wow, I want to be able to do that. I don't know how to do that. And so I had to start like experimenting, and so I'd love to say that the catalyst for me to do that was because of my own choice, but it was actually, I got sick. And so I was forced to sit and rest and look out the window and, ground myself in nature. And when I did that, and I recognized how hard it was for me, I had to then give myself some self-compassion, and I had to support myself. And I read and I napped, and I really realized after a couple of days, wow, this is really nice, despite being sick. And I know that I'm, self-caring and self-loving myself by giving myself this opportunity to rest. Okay, how do I now do this when I'm not sick? How do I now re-engage in my life and bring this stillness in? And so for me, it's carving out smaller portions of my day in the morning, like you said, having my cup of coffee, taking some 15 minutes to journal, closing my eyes and just breathing. If I'm at work here in my home office and I'm working really hard, I will set an alarm, and it says, get up, Michelle, and get out in nature. I go outside and I just walk on the grass, even for just a couple of minutes, just to break up that energy of I'm achieving, I'm doing, I'm pushing, I'm striving. Let me invite in. And what happens is, when I'm able to do that, I'm able to do these little breathing exercises, in for 4, hold for 4, and out for 4 a couple times during the day. It resets my energy and I can keep going. And then I'm mindful, I'm present in that moment. And so this deep nurturing is, I'm not burning out as much. I'm not getting sick as much.
Yeah, and I love that you said it. It's bite-sized, right? We go in our head going, I don't have time for stillness, because we have this short story going that I need an hour for this and an hour for that, and it looks like meditation. I'm like you, Michelle, and you know this from our personal conversations. I could have back-to-back client calls, and sometimes I have space for 10 minutes, and I live on a beautiful lake. 5 minutes, I just stand there on the deck, listening, bringing myself into my body. I'm going to tell you, the energy and nervous system reset is powerful. So I thank you for sharing that and reminding women, it just takes a few minutes. And if you don't have a few minutes in your day for stillness, then you need this more than ever, because you've just created a pattern of not being present in your own life. And Michelle's inviting you in, giving you permission, take 3 minutes. Oh, you have 2 minutes? Perfect. Right, like sometimes I find peace. There's certain dishes I hand wash and I look out at nature. But when I do it, I'm so present. I'm watching the squirrels run. That's meditative to me. I don't sit on cushions and meditate, but that's meditative to me.
Yeah, and I love that you're sharing that, because again, I should be sitting down in a lotus position with my eyes closed, humming. That doesn't work for me. So I always tell women, we have to find what works for us individually. It looks different. A couple of years ago, I wanted to do the morning miracle, routine. And like you said, what happened for me was, it's 5 minutes of reading, 7 minutes of this, da, 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 da. It was like a chore. So then, I'm like, oh, I got to get up at 5:30. And I wasn't, because I got to do my miracle morning. But the fact was, maybe that morning I needed more rest. I needed more sleep. So it really becomes, I needed it to be fluid. I needed it to flow with what I needed. And I think that's part of this feminine flow, is really finding out what works for me, what works for you individually, because it's different for everyone. There's no, it's great that I can take a little bit from this person and a little bit from that person. And maybe I like doing this, but I don't like doing that. That's part of discovering who I am as Michelle Lemoi, who you are as Linda Joy, and what works for us.
Yeah, it's about reconnecting, and this is what all your work is about, with your feminine essence. It's there, ladies. We've just forgotten. I mean, this is a busy, busy world, and Michelle's message is inviting you to find the practices that work for you. I've never been one to meditate, but you give me a guided meditation, I'm in the zone, baby. But to sit there doing this, no. Walking in nature is mine. Listening to spiritual development books, even if it's, or inspiring messages like that, 5 minutes can reset me, because I've done it so long that my energy knows, oh, she's putting that on. Let's go inward, baby.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what you're talking about, reconnecting with the feminine essence within, in the way. And I love how you look at things. You look at things from this playful, why not try it? Why not try it? And that makes it fun, and not like that feeling you had before, that you had that ritual that had certain steps that you had to do, because that brought you right into your perfectionism, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that perfectionism, that needing to prove myself, needing to, like, that I'm less than. If I don't do this very structured thing, then I'm less than. And that doesn't fit with I am enough. I'm enough just showing up as I am.
In the last few minutes, I just want to say something else that you said too. It was one about being enough, but there was another piece that really spoke to me. When you said that it goes by what you need that day. So I love that, because what I did for myself this morning in my morning ritual wasn't the same as I did yesterday. Right. That's important too. It's like, because then it tells me you're listening to your inner wisdom, you're listening to your essence. So I just wanted to close out by bringing that back into the conversation. Listen, your needs and your inner wisdom are always guiding you. Your feminine essence is there going, hey, what about me? So Michelle, yeah. Thank you. This is such an empowering conversation for so many women who, life has put them on autopilot, and both of us are inviting you to step off, ladies, play, try new practices. And speaking of practices, Michelle has a free gift for you, and click the button right next to the video. We'll bring you down to the gift area. And it's 6 practices to reconnect with your feminine essence. It's a PDF e-guide, and it's about everything that she's been talking about today. And in this e-guide, you're going to learn the empowering practices and be invited to dive deeper with journal prompts. Now, if you've been following me a long time, I'm big into journaling prompts, because it gets us out of our head and into our soul whispers. And this is a powerful way for you to reconnect with your feminine essence. And it also, once you get your ebook, you'll discover a special bonus within. So, Michelle, thank you, my friend. Thank you.
My friend. This was fabulous.
And thank you for reminding all of us, including myself, to take time to be in our own lives.
Yeah, so important. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. I'll see you soon, ladies.